in preparation for today, which is the relaunch of X-Men. Jonathan Hickman is going to be putting out his, I think it's House of X or Powers of X today. I think it's House of X. So I don't want to take it easy on him, right? I want to be able to compare his work to some of the greatest X-Men books that I've ever read. So I've been rereading a lot of these old Uncanny X-Men, and what better place to start than the very first issue in one of my very favorite runs of Uncanny X-Men. This one's 322. So 24 years ago this month, this book came out. I was in high school. Do I feel old yet? Yeah, little, a little. So these are the books that solidified my obsession with the X-Men. You know, I read some of Claremont's stuff and I really liked it, but this stuff just totally, it was fresh. It felt like it was easier to read because Claremont was a little bit long-winded at times, and being a kid, I really thought that his work was I was like, Claremont was the Shakespeare to, you know, comic books. When I was young, you know, it was just very thou hithertoist sounding, you know. Of course, I love Claremont, you know, and, but this stuff's all great too. Of course, this is Scott Lobdell. Let me just get into it. So this, like I said, Lobdell's writing, wow, how can we have 4 inkers on a book? Of course we can. So Tom Grummett is on pencils. Dan Green, Mark Pennington, Matt Ryan, and Al Milgrom are all doing inks, and then Steve Buccellato on color. So got all of that out of the way. I love this intro. Immediately, you see Warren swooping in. He's talking on the phone to his ex-girlfriend, who is a detective, and they have a long history and a past here. And you see that there's some hate crime that's happened, and that's of course a normal thing here in the X-Men universe. You know, because of course we're using this as a metaphor and an allegory for, you know, anyone that's marginalized. And so Warren hears a detective loading their weapon, cocking their shotgun, and so he shoots off one of his metal feathers, right, and knocks the guy out, knocks the police officer out, and that's the first tension. So look, immediately you get tension from the good guys, and that's the thing. You can't write people as if they're all good, friendly people. Everybody has to have conflict, even if it's a detective and a good mutant, you know, fighting each other or whatever. You know what I mean? And I don't mean a real fight, but stuff like that. You know, it causes conflict. It makes the story move forward, right? And so I really like this scene right here. Archangel says, look, Char, I'm sorry I haven't been in touch in a while. She knows exactly how long. She says, 2 months, 1 week, and 4 days. He's like, things have been hectic lately. That's no excuse, of course, but... And then she says, get over yourself, Warren. I did. And then you go in and he leaves you hanging right here. She says, look, I'm going to show you something. It's this hate crime. And she said, fly up, let's get an aerial view. And then they leave it right there. She says, as bad as things have been between Homo sapien and Homo superior, Warren, they're about to get worse. And then, like I said, they leave you on a cliffhanger. And that's what's so great. So we have multiple storylines going on at once, right? And you have them continuing forward, and it leaves on a cliffhanger note for every single one of these stories, okay? And so that's called serial format. When you're writing comic books, you want to have at least 3 main stories going. Sometimes 4 would be really helpful. 5 or 6 gets a little confusing, i.e. Sandman. Sandman wasn't always easiest to follow, but they had a lot of storylines going at once, so it makes a lot of sense, you know, for it to be a more difficult storyline. So this is great. You have Ororo walking around. She's kind of thinking about this whole thing between Rogue and Gambit, and you know, she's like, why would Gambit try to tirelessly pursue a relationship with someone that's gonna end up killing him? You know? And while she's thinking about that, Wolverine appears in the bushes and starts talking to her. So he ran off because, this was right after Magneto pulled all that metal out of him. And so he went through a huge trauma. And, all of that situation leads up to what we're going to see in this issue. And so they're talking, blah, blah, blah. Logan goes ahead and he disappears back into the bushes. And look, these people are acting like themselves, right? In some of these Age of X-Men books, none of the X-Men are actually acting like themselves because the writers haven't taken the time to look at the source material and see, look, Ororo is going to act a certain way, And that's absolutely how Scott Lobdell, of course, he's probably read every single X-Men book ever. So, he knows the lore and he can write the lore and he picks up with it in a good way. You see, and this is great. This is actually where it all leads up to this big finish right here. And it kind of starts here. So this is another part of the storyline. They're all going to kind of come together here at the end. And you see Beast, he's using that interface that allows him to look like a normal person or whatever, and this is what's cool. So it dates it and it kind of tells you what kind of world we're living in here during the time frame. Pulp Fiction is the Academy Award winner. Well, my chronologically challenged chap, what did you think of your latest fandango with the fantasy that is a feature film? Bishop says, honestly, Hank, I'm a bit confused. During the gunfights and the bloodshed and the random acts of violence, why was the audience laughing? Beast says, it's called escapism, Bishop. It helps people take their minds off of the mundanity of their lives. Bishop says, mundanity? I don't believe we had that word in the era where I came from. Beast says, you caught me. I made it up. Dude, look, you've got to relax. Cool. It is escapism, right? And so when you have people throwing politics in there and trying to make everything about it illegal immigration, come on, this is crazy. Why are we even talking about that in comic books? But again, I devolve. They weren't talking about this back then, they were actually creating good serial stories that just continue onward consistently. So you see this, they thought it was a shooting star that flew through the sky, it crashes to the ground, and they say, oh no, someone's in trouble. Whoever just came crashing to Earth, they did it against traffic. He said, indeed. He said, I'll be a monkey's uncle, literally. Beast, what is it? According to the X-Men's files, this is Kane Marco, Professor Xavier's half-brother, an unstoppable force of nature called the Juggernaut. Clearly, we'll have to update his computer profile and omit the word unstoppable. So someone takes Juggernaut out, and he comes to. He wakes up. Well, first of all, look, you have this incredible short scene right here. We're talking about the X-Men and, the origins and why Jean Grey and Cyclops were chosen by Xavier to be the first students, the first teachers at the Institute. And it's really touching. It's a good story. I'm not going to do all of that with you because I just want to go through the action and the main story points here. And so this is so cool. Juggernaut wakes up and he's surrounded by X-Men and he looks pissed. So he starts going off and a badass scene just happens here. And they're beating the hell out of each other. Cyclops comes and starts kicking Juggernaut's ass as well. And it's a badass fight. Basically, that's all it is. And they finally are able to knock him out, subdue him, the Juggernaut. And this is so cool. This is the scene right here. It says, ready to talk some sense now, Juggernaut? And Juggernaut says, nothing makes sense no more. Least of all, the coincidence that landed me here. In the middle of the same people I was coming here to warn about him. Beast says, the same him you claimed was after you? The person responsible for your current condition? The name Juggernaut. Who did this to you? Who, in your own words, is out there? Onslaught. Bam. Next issue, Iceman and Rogue on the run. And then, of course, it ties into the next X-Men book, which, got that one right here. I may not do a review on these couple here, because this is the Escape from Avalon. But damn, I just want to say right here, that is a fantastic ending, because you're introduced to a character that you have no idea who they are, but if they could kick Juggernaut's ass, then, they obviously have some power to them. And when you introduce a character into a comic book, building it up through a whole issue like this is exactly the way to go. This is written very well. Lobdell, well, he's a great writer, I mean, it is what it is. Look, I've been covering that whole Age of X-Men event on and off while it's been going on, I don't know, 3-4 months. It's been just so stupid. Every single issue that I've reviewed has been a nightmare. I'm going to be covering Hickman's X-Men. So today that comic book comes out. I'll be back with that review today. And, hey, subscribe to my channel if you like my content. I am Chase. You are the gateway into comics. I will see you later today for that Jonathan Hickman book. Have a great one.